All right. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
All the things.
You're making sure that we're live on the places?
All right, cool. Broski, you're freezing up on me quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. You there?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
good
here.
now. Cool.
Yeah.
All right,
I don't
y'all.
know if it's
Well,
you or me.
welcome to the party. Nope, I'm not sure either. You're freezing up quite a bit on me.
Well, let's leave it up to the judges. Who's freezing up on who? Am I freezing or is Guy freezing? We'll let
Damn you,
the
internet
media
gods.
decide.
Damn you, internet gods. All right, guys. So welcome in. Feel free to say hello and smash some likes. Let us know that our AV is working okay. If you can hear us. If you are brand new to the Satori Prime family, especially into the group, we'll give you a little bit of background on who we are, what it is that we do, and what you can expect from this group. Elon and I have been coaches for well over 15 years, not all online, but in lots of different ways, from doing interpersonal mindset coaching to training entrepreneurs in the marketing and sales space. We were top earners in a few affiliate companies. That seems like lifetimes ago, and our heart's work has always been directly working with people on their personal development, healing practices, spiritual development. And so the Old Souls and Seekers is kind of like our banner place where we have these conversations with people that are really, really impactful and give people access to resources and practices that you guys can be doing on a daily basis to not just a little bit improve your life, but substantially improve your life. At the end of the day, perception, the way our nervous system feels, how safe we feel in the world are all really fundamental and very important parts of what it live in this world in a way where the impact of everyday circumstances doesn't have to be so difficult, where we can show up our best, where we can feel authentically connected to people. And so if you're here to rid yourself of fears and anxiety, if you're here to heal from past trauma, if you're here to learn success-based habits and practices that you can be doing right now to improve your life, then you're in the perfect place. Okay? One of the first things that we always recommend is that you take on a meditation challenge. Okay, we recommend a minimum of 21 days because that's what all the smart people will tell you how long it takes to build a habit. But truth be told, meditation as a daily practice is a life-changing thing for a lot of people. I know that's could be a scary thing because what you hear is I need to sit in silence every day and not do anything, and my mind is a worried mind, is an anxious mind, and it doesn't quiet or shut the fuck up, right? So what we want to tell you here is that this is not a quiet your mind meditation. Okay, meditation is often misunderstood by Western-minded people. They think it's just for relaxation or to quiet the mind. And while certainly those can be beautiful byproducts of doing any kind of practice in the meditation space, what we have learned over many, many years is that meditation is actually the primary healing tool that humans have. So if you are dealing with things from your past that seem to be lingering, that you're stuck with, today we'll be talking about self-sabotage. So it kind of plays with what this is all about. Meditation is your tool for healing, and so we teach an active healing meditation, which is really something that you participate with and actually actively do inside of your practice. So it's not this like just sit there and listen to nothing, although that will come in time as you do more of these practices. It literally shows you how to navigate your awareness to higher consciousness. We'll talk about that, and then once you're there, once you're at this seat of awareness, what you can do with that to actually heal trauma and stuck parts inside of your system that are really what's causing, for 99.9% of the public, this overreactivity in their system, which leads to a lot of much more difficult reality circumstances in your life. So if you want to take advantage of that resource, just type in meditation in the comment box below. And over here you can. It's always better when you make a pledge in public, so to speak. Right, like when we want something new in our life, we're often too afraid to say that in a public setting, because we know that if we say it there, then people may actually hold us accountable for what we say. And so we make these little promises inside of our system, and then we don't keep them because we're super, super good at wriggling out of our own accountability with ourselves. And that's why coaches and people standing next to you and, kind of holding you accountable to what you want in your life and bringing integrity to that is a way to bring transformation sustainably into your life. So if you are going to take on some kind of meditation training, you want to make a pledge right now. I'll do 7 days, I'll do 14 days, I'll do 21 days, I'll do 30 days. I'm going to do it forever. Like whatever it might be. Just nail, write it in the comment box. So you could just honor that commitment to yourself. Like you want to create it so you're like, okay, I said I'm going to do this thing. Let me say that here now. And then, of course, if you need support with that, you can also create systems of accountability. You have plenty of group members here who may want to do that with you. It could be as simple as a daily check-in or something like that you guys do. Did you do your meditation today? Okay.
Broski, can you drop the link in there for people to connect their name?
Yeah. So while I do that, why don't you take over?
By the way, guys, if you are new to here or you haven't clicked this link, so we use a different software. We stream it through this software called Restream, and so we get the chat over there. But if you don't click on this link, it doesn't sync with your name from Facebook. So we just see Facebook user. So when we ask you to interact or you're typing in comments, we don't really know who it is. So if you just click on that, you can go and it'll sync it. Yeah, guy just posted it in there.
Takes 2 seconds.
Yeah, it'll really take 2 seconds, and then it'll just make the conversation go back and forth a lot easier. So we want to talk today about self-sabotage, and I know it's a word around quite a bit. And so what I would love to just get some feedback from you to help us maybe gear today's conversation is maybe you could just let us know, how does self-sabotage show up in your life? Or is there a particular area of life that you notice that you keep self-sabotaging? And if so, what does that look like? Because it's really important to get grounded in, and it's going to be interesting for you guys to see, first of all, other people's responses, because I want you to know that it's something that is almost a part of being human. And most of us have been doing it for a very, very, very long time. The problem is that we don't know that we're doing it, I guess, is like the biggest hindrance, because most people, we get into these patterns, right, where maybe things start to move in a certain way. And then once they start to move in a certain way, maybe things are getting too good. And then we will do something externally because internally we don't feel very good. We will do something externally to sabotage. And maybe we do that in relationships, or maybe we do that around our money or around our finances or career or things like that. So just kind of noticing how many of you guys are have noticed that you have those patterns. And I'm going to kind of look through here and see if anyone wrote. So Carmen wrote money. I can't afford it. Self-talk. Okay, so that's self-sabotage. Got it. Yeah, it seems like Guy's the one freezing here. Bro, it seems like you're freezing. Money, relationships with others,
Yeah,
myself.
doesn't network in here.
Yeah. You're on my end, you're coming in very pixelated. Or like comes and goes,
Hmm.
very pixelated.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
okay. Money not good enough. Money. Okay. So a lot of people here are typing in around money. Um, okay. So we can kind of use that as a good example. So money, let's just kind of like we'll dive into that one. But again, as we're talking about this, I want you to get that you can really implement this strategy or what we're going to be talking about. Focus on relationship, focus it in on your health, or focus in on whatever it is that you really want. There are a few things. I'm going to actually take out my notes here, because there's. Let me say I want to share this. Okay, so I'm going to use a car analogy. Imagine that if your car, I don't know if anyone's ever driven stick. I don't know if this even does this on automatic cars, to be honest, but um, there's a red line limiter, right? So the engine can spin to a certain level, and then once it hits that, what they call the red line or the rev limiter, the car will do something in order to save the engine. Because basically, if you rev the engine past this red line and you kept it there, the engine is going to explode, right? It's running at too high a speed, and it's just going to explode. So I want you to imagine that internally, not based on what you want mentally, not from here. Because if I said to any of you guys, how much money do you want? And you'd be like, I want $1 million, or I want $10 million. You're like, I want it, but it doesn't stay. It doesn't happen. So I want you to get that your wants and desires from your mind have nothing to do with the self-sabotage. The self-sabotage comes from a part inside that doesn't believe that you're good enough or worthy enough, or you're going to let people down. I'm going to walk you through kind of the main four, um, that for most people kind of resonate. So as we're going through this, it's not that you don't believe that you want this thing. Like, no one believes that they want relationships that keep ending up in arguments or divorce or anything like that. You're not like going there going, oh, how did I do this again? No, it just something happens in the relationship that triggers something inside of you. And then that trigger inside of you has this pattern, almost like a protection mechanism come online. And that protector, as much as it's trying to protect you, actually is what creates a lot of the damage. Okay. So I'm going to name 4 beliefs. Okay. These are pretty, what's the word? Universal beliefs. Okay. And as I'm reading this, I just want you to map onto yourself, does this resonate for me? Like, which one of these is the one that resonates for me? Okay. So the first one, and by the way, this is from a book called The Big Leap. I'm borrowing this from. He just breaks it down. I thought it was very, very well stated. So the first belief that he talks about is fundamentally flawed. This is where you believe there's this internal belief that I'm bad, or like good things don't happen to me, right? Or good things don't happen to bad people, or whatever it is. So it's like when something's too good, it's like this is too good for me, and that's your rev limiter, and then it's gonna crash you back to earth. Okay. Number 2 is, if I succeed, I will leave others behind. Meaning that if I gain this, whatever it might be, I'm going to leave others in the dust, and I can't do that. Okay, that's rev limiter number 2. Number 3 is, I'm a burden, and I don't want to be a bigger burden to others. So I have to keep life in a certain container, because if I get too big, then I'm going to be a bigger burden to others. Okay, that's number 3. And number 4 is what we call the dim your light syndrome. So I can't outshine other people. I can't be better than
Hmm.
other people. If I'm better than other people, again, that creates. So again, from the beginning, fundamentally flawed, this notion that I'm bad. If I succeed, I'll leave others behind. I'm going to be a burden, or I'm going to outshine people. So, based off of those, which do you in the comment box just shout it out in there? Which do you believe is the one that is most accurate for you? Now, it doesn't mean that you just have one. It could be that you have some of one and some of another, but most of us have one that resonates a lot. So, for me, for example, it was always the part of shining too bright. Like I had to like somehow figure out ways to contain. There were parts of me that did not want to contain, but I had to figure out ways to contain in order to fit in or belong or whatever it might be. Right. So some people are, um, so Natalie is saying mine used to be number 4. Um, Other one, Shantae is also saying, I hope I pronounced that right. Dim the light. Facebook user, I don't know who that one is, fundamentally flawed. The last one says Carmen, fundamentally flawed, and I'm a burden. First and last, but mostly the first, fundamentally flawed. So you can kind of start to see there's like a pattern. And obviously, people mapped out this map. So I'm just going to say this and then I'll kick it off to Guy, which is the reason you are self sabotaging yourself is for no other reason than that when that part internally gets hit, I want you to imagine it's like a little boy or a little girl. Once that part gets hit, you fall into pattern. And it's like a survival pattern that you fall into. And then from there, you have all sorts of strategies that you play. But those strategies have one thing that they want to accomplish. And that is to, in one way, shape, or form, keep life the way it is so it can be managed and the people around can be managed and all that, like we keep it status quo. And that's why every time you kind of like try to break through that ceiling, you're going to hit that rev limiter.
Yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
Cool. Just check my audio. It sounds like it is me on my end. So if I'm like super choppy, just write to me in the private chat so I know, and then maybe I'll take
Okay, you
over.
got it. Yeah, right now it's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So so I love that. I think that gives us a little bit of a map to work with. And so just a little background, right? When we're discussing anything, we're bringing certain distinctions through or experiences through. There's kind of like two ways that we can approach any sort of work, because there's lots of different portals to get to, let's call it enlightenment, but really it's just a higher awakened state, right? Or a more aware state. And so some of it can be spoken through like philosophically and like the doorways of the mind and like certain levels of understanding. And there's only so far, like Elon said, there's like limiters to everything, right? So like only talking about things through the mind has a certain limitation. Like many of you guys have issues in your life, I'm putting these in quotes, problems in your life, putting these in quotes, that you may really know the source of. You may know why they're there, why you do as much maps as you might have about why that's happening in your life. Those maps ultimately don't give you access to healing it. Because to me, it's like when we're talking about the mind, we're talking more of the symptoms, right? Like when you go to like a traditional medical doctor in most of the westernized world, so to speak, what they're really doing is they're specialized in trying to numb a symptom. That's really what's going on. They're giving you some kind of prescription drug or procedure in order to numb it, but oftentimes the whatever the amalgamation that's going on, they're not looking at the source. They're not holistically looking at the body. What's going on? What are you eating? What's your lifestyle like? Like they don't ask you these things. They're like, here's a drug. Let's take that thing out of the equation, and then you have another problem because the underlying symptomology is still there. And so we don't want to just talk about, excuse me, about symptoms. We want to talk about how do we get to the source. And oftentimes the source is a little bit more esoteric, right? Because as much as we think we understand neuroscience or medicine or psychology, these things are really just about 100, if we're being really nice, like 200 years old, right? So it's like, well, we've been looking at this stuff for what, 5, 6 generations now? So if you think that we have a good grasp on these things, it seems like we know everything about the human body. That's not true. Humanity, consciousness is still very, very, very much a mystery. manifestation, how these things work for the most part, are still rather mysterious topics, and that's why they're like in the realms of mysticism, even though mysticism a lot of times makes sense. So I'm saying all this because Elon's giving you guys beautiful maps on how we can look at things, but the other place we want to play is in the territory. We actually want to get, and how do we get to the territory? How do we have direct experiences that we cannot deny through our own spiritual, mystical, multidimensional experiences, that the very nature of experiencing it changes our perception, the quality of our life, and we just can't go forward being the same person, right? Like we've all had experiences in our life, whether traumatic or ecstatic, where once you've had that experience, it's like you just can't go back, right? And so what we're often looking for in these kind of practices is, what can we do every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year that gives us a taste of certain experiences that once you have them, you can't help yourself. It's just a natural inclination to want to transform. Okay, and so that's kind of what we're looking for here. Okay, and so look, when it comes to sabotage, like Elon was pointing to these parts, right, and how they like to stay in the status quo. Well, the reason that they're there is it's very efficient. Whatever your system figured out when you were a little boy and little girl and you had certain experiences, when your system sort of figured out what worked, and I really mean sort of, kind of, maybe, like, maybe you had a lot of anxiety, or maybe you were being bullied, and then you did something, and that one time or a few times after you did that, it created a sense of safety, a sense. It didn't actually create safety, created a sense of safety. Your body goes, okay, well, that's better than that. So let's start doing more of this. And then we kind of like subconsciously, rarely without paying attention, we start habituating these things. We start doing them a lot. Sometimes it's micro, sometimes it's big things, but you start doing it a lot. And that's how humans learn. We learn through habituation. Like if you think transformation is just like a one and done occasion, there are certain one and done things that can spark an experience, but like to integrate something into your life has to be done like anything else you do in your life. You got to habituate it in. Okay, and so we want to always look at both. How do we get people to have these ecstatic experiences, esoteric, spontaneous, spiritual, healing type of things? Then it's like, well, how do we take the mind stuff, these maps, give those to people so that they can take what is happening here and go, oh, okay, how do I turn that into something tangible that I bring into my life on a daily basis? Okay, so Elon gave you guys maps, and I want to tell you how we play in the territory. Okay. Because, like I said, the map kind of lives up here. But what we want to understand about maps, and what we want to understand about the mind, is that this is like any computer. It has programs. Another way of saying a program is it has a condition. It has conditioning. And it was conditioned in, not because you're like, oh, I want this, let's do that. Otherwise, we'd all say, I want conditioning for investment. I want to be conditioned for wealthy. I want to be conditioned for creativity and love. And we would just like, Matrix style, we would just like supplant all these programs in our mind, but we don't do that because we're too young to even recognize that that's actually happening. And by the time you may have some awareness around it, you already, you have this personality. Okay. And so like shifting that can often seem very difficult for people. Like how many of you guys have been doing work, for at least 5 or 10 years? How many of you guys 15 or 20? You could just write like, how long have you been doing work? And at the same time, while you may have made a lot of headway, you can also recognize the difficulty at times with certain patterns in your life that just do not seem to like, they don't, the grasp, they don't let go, and you keep dealing with that. And so what we want to understand is that the conditioning of this mind is a response to something. This is the symptom. And what it's responding to is a source. Now, where is that source? Anybody want to take a guess? Like, where is the source of where these things are coming from? You may think it's the mind, and I want to kind of throw a wrench in the mix here and tell you it's not. So if the mind is not the source, where is the source? Alex says she knows, but that's because she's been doing work with us for a very long time. So somebody said the heart. That was Brian Donovan. Yeah, we could say that for sure. Experiences. Yeah, I like this inquiry, right? And whether you're going to answer or not, like at least answer for yourself, Give yourself the opportunity to deeply inquire about these really important questions, because it's very easy to have someone in authority just tell you an answer and you're like, oh yeah, of course that's what it is. But like, you want to actually inquire, right? Like, again, whether you write it or not, like, give yourself a 30 seconds to inquire, where is the source of this stuff?
Yeah.
Because you want to know that when you receive an answer, that it's like, it's trustworthy because it's your answer. Elon and myself, we can give you what we believe, and of course, what we believe is dictated from having worked with tens of thousands of people. So we get to see certain patterns that most people just don't. You know, when you work with a large pool of human beings, you're like, oh wow, there is this clear pattern in humanity. Okay, but nonetheless, even if Elon and I say something, you want to validate for yourself. Does that feel true? Not does that feel ultimately true in the world of all truth, but does that feel true for me? Even if Elon gives me feedback, Elon knows me really well. I still have to sit there and go, is that true for me? It might be true in his experience. It might not be true in my experience at all. And we've had conversations like that. And guess what? When you can have conversations like that from like a high place, you can realign your relationships in your life to see you from what's true for you instead of arguing about it all the time, which is kind of how it used to be, right? All right, so kind of to get back to my question here, like, so where is the source of things? Well, I think, well, before I give you the final answer here for me, it's that we are going to find during the 21st century through neurology and quantum physics and all these areas of science that are having huge breakthroughs, they're really just pointing back to spiritual truths that have been in the texts for, thousands of years. But one of the things that I think we get to shift is the idea of mind being a localized experience. Okay, we think of mind here, like when I think of someone's mind, the image in my brain, my mind is immediately of people's brains and heads and stuff like that. But we are now know that consciousness, the mind, is non-local and exists everywhere. If we want to talk from a more biological point of view, your mind is not just what's in between your skull. It's actually the nervous system, which includes the heart, the stomach, and basically every neurology, like anything that's giving you feedback. Okay, anything that's giving you some kind of feedback about your experience of being alive. And just to kind of like rock your guys' brains a little bit here, we now know that there are the same neurological receptors that you have in your mind. You also have those receptors in your heart. Like your heart actually has 40,000 thinking receptors. Your gut clearly has an opinion about things, and it sends 10 times the signals up to your brain than your brain sends down to it. Okay? So again, we may want to start considering that what we think of mind is actually a much more holistic thing. Now, how can we access the source of these things? Well, we can access it by doing two things. First is by recognizing that our mind is non-local. Okay? And once we recognize that, then how to access a non-local mind. So this would be local mind. Okay, this is when our awareness is all huddled in here. And when it's huddled in here, it means that all we have is our conditioning. When we learn how to come out of that conditioning and have a more expansive, spacious view, using some, more Buddhist terminology here, this is what we want to practice. We want to practice how to unhook. We want to practice how to unlocalize our mind. And then from that point of view, this is what Michael Singer in his book, The Untethered Soul, he calls the seat of awareness. We want to learn how do we turn the view and be able to look at everything that's happening over here at the level of energy and these like subtle little things that are happening in your body all the time. And that, to me, is a lot closer to the source of where these patterns are coming from. Okay, so again, we have this sensation in the body. It could be like a contraction, or you guys know when you're afraid, you get that like squeezing in the stomach, right? Or sometimes it feels like the blood is draining from your face, like when you're really scared and you have that white feeling and you can't think and you're starting to disassociate and do all those things, right? So what's actually going on? Like you track your own biology when those things are happening, and there's a response in the body. There's like something happening in the body because of what's happening in the environment, and then your mind is checking what's happening, and it is now responding to it with some kind of conditioned programming. Okay? And I just want to check how many of you guys are tracking this. Like how many of you guys can validate this experience for yourself? You could just say I or yes, I can, or whatever it might be, right? Like how many of you guys are actually tracking what I'm saying here? It's actually, this is very advanced, but really simple. Like just track your own experience when you're upset, when you're angry, when you're overwhelmed, when there's anxiety in your life, when you don't know how to make a decision, when you're dealing with self-worth, when you're trying to forgive a situation. Like, this is what's going on. There's tension in your body. There's contraction in your body. Energy is not moving. And that lack of energy moving in your body is creating stress in your experience, and the mind has to respond. Because the mind has been, we have all been conditioned to give our mind this very non-enviable job, which is to figure out how to make us safe, how to make us happy, how to make us rich, how to make us have the best sex, how to make us have the best body. Like imagine giving like a computer that's only built for like a few things, like every job in the world at one time. It's gonna have a really, really tough time with that. And so what we want to learn is, when people think about reprogramming their mind, they're like, okay, I got to tell it to do this, or I got to control or manage my mind. I don't know about you guys, like how many of you guys have tried to do that? It's fucking hard. It's just hard. The mind just does what the mind does. The mind is just, it's a chatterbox, right? If you think you're going to slow down or completely quiet this chatterbox, after 20 years, I could tell you, it doesn't stop. Here's what can shift, and then we'll talk about like how do we do some of this healing work, is that it can actually, you can get into a relationship with your egoic mind, and it can become your partner. And I don't think there's a lot of people in the world that can say their ego or their mind is their partner. Now, I can't tell you that it's my partner all the time, but 80%, 90% of the time it's my partner now. And that's just from doing these practices. Why? Because I've taken a lot of the tasks that it has to do off the table. How have I done that? How have we done that? How are our students doing that? Well, when we learn about awareness, again, this idea of non-localized awareness, we learn how to turn back and view our body from a subjective place, that we can start noticing these contractions in our system. Simply by learning how to do that, you elicit a natural response in your body. Okay? So spirituality will say that you're aware of energy and you're doing healing work. Science would say that you are now navigating your nervous system, and you are retraining it to have a parasympathetic response, which just basically means you are down regulating your nervous system. You're bringing that nervous system into a rest and digest state. Again, I'm using scientific terminology here. So you're resting and digesting, which means the body's at rest and it's digesting. Well, what is it digesting? People think of digestion as food. Yes, that's possible. But even more importantly, it's digesting, or another word for digesting is metabolizing energy. And this is crucial because our body doesn't do this well, or really at all, until we're in this state. And this is why meditation and these practices, these active healing meditations, again, if you want it, just type in meditation, are so crucial, because it retrains your nervous system how to feel safe. It takes you out of a fight or flight response, which is where most people are living most of their lives, if not all their lives. And it allows for your body's natural intelligence to do what it was always meant to do, which is to metabolize the energy that's in your body. So you need to understand that trauma is energy that has not been metabolized. Okay? So when we have like an anxiety response, like again, track your own body and how this feels. Something comes in, or feels like it's coming in, your body's responding, and it gets hooked and it contracts on the energy. So it like squeezes the energy, and the energy can't move. Right? Think about emotions. Elon and I call emotions energy and motion. So if an emotion is coming and it contracts, then that emotion can't move through our system. It gets stuck in our system and becomes almost like this solid object that our mind is then looking at and trying to deal with to create safety. But the source hasn't changed. The energy is still stuck. And so the mind has to loop and loop and loop and loop. And the perceptions loop and loop and loop. And how we see things and how we respond to things loop and loop and loop and loop and loop until the system can relax and the energy can move again. And so we call this the intelligence, or the divine intelligence of your body, right? And we say this all the time. How can we identify the intelligence of our body? Well, it's really quite simple. If you go cut your finger right now, I know that in a week or two, you won't even know you had that cut there. Your body will have taken care of it, right? It will put it back together. It'll look good as new. You break a bone, give it 6 weeks, good as new. Woman gets pregnant, right? Like we don't have to, and the baby is formed over a 9-month period. So like we don't have to give the body feedback. It is intelligently designed. It is connected to the greater one mind of all things, and there's an intelligence to this stuff that just knows how to bring everything back into homeostasis. And again, you look everywhere in the universe and validate, including the balance of our ecosystems, right? When we let them be in balance, how everything is just homeostatic. If there's a predator and prey, like there's always something keeping everything checks and balances in nature. And so your body is made the same exact way. Human beings have this strange idea that we are somehow like separate from nature. In fact, if you go on Google and define human nature, you'll actually see that it's defined as us separate from nature, which is such a fucking crazy idea because we came from nature. And so we want to start understanding that, like, we want to recognize not that we actually have to do anything to heal ourselves. We just need to put ourselves and train ourselves to be in an internal environment that allows for healing to take place. And that's what all our experiences and all our programs are about. And I'll say this one last thing here, and then I'll throw it back to Elon. I've been talking for quite some time, is that, like, when this energy is getting stuck in your body, there's usually kind of three ways that this has happened, right? It's either like your own inner perceptions of lack of self-worth. We've been saying for years, the number one virus on the planet, this is pre-COVID, so COVID is maybe redefine that because that's probably the number one virus on the planet, but like this still exists, and prior to, I would have said self-worth is the number one virus on planet Earth. We have a society that has been conditioned to not see their own magnificence and beauty. Me included. I was very depressed, very angry, very sad child, and I've had to, learn all these things to come to a much more stable, grounded, and fundamentally well-being place in my life. So I'm speaking to you from personal experience, as many of you, I'm sure, have this experience as well, right? And so we really, really want to understand. So I kind of lost my train of thought there and where I wanted to take you with that, but like ultimately, it's so crucial. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I remember now. So either is perception of self that got you there, you had an experience with another that caused trauma, or you had experience in a group that caused you trauma. And chances are you've had all three. And sometimes all three of them at the same time for one event, which is probably why it was so memorable, right? So what we want to do is we want to make sure that when we're doing healing practices, and this is why I'm not telling you because I think it makes for good marketing or for good sales, although it does, is that like you actually need other people to heal yourself. Let me say that again. You need others to heal yourself. We are biologically built for connection. If you don't believe me, think about what happens to people in prison that we isolate. Or homeless people, how you see them talking to themselves. Like they're essentially trying to create that connection by creating a separate persona in their own mind. It's that fundamental to our belief. To our biology, that literally when you don't have connection, your brain will schism and split itself and create what science thinks is a disease of schizophrenia so that it can perceive having a connection with somebody else. That's how fucking insane this is. And so, there's only so much work you can do on your own. But if you want to heal the stuff that happened at the self to other and self to group levels, guess what? You need others and you need people in group. And you need them to have this kind of awareness about how the healing process works, how to unhook from their minds, how to hold people in presence. And when you have that, you start moving at light speed. You start moving at warp speed into healing, into the healing realms, bringing yourself back into homeostasis, back to a safe state. And all this, self-sabotage that people do is really just the source, but most people are trying to deal with the symptoms. Okay, so this is why I'm pointing at all these things for you and showing you some of the territories that you need to get into in order to understand how the maps work and actually apply this into your life every single day. And again, if this is something that you want to learn, if this is something that you want to learn this weekend, we have an event coming up, which is a 2 day intensive on exactly how to do this. These are the exact practices. So if you do want to find out, you haven't bought your ticket yet, you still have a little bit of time, I would say buy your ticket immediately because there's pre-training that you go through. Once you buy your ticket, we immediately send you 6 hours of pre-training. I mean, we want to say we require it to be there, but really it's a strong recommendation. But seriously, you want to do that before you get there. So if you want to like have time before Saturday morning to complete that, like you want to buy your ticket as soon as possible. If you do want to get your ticket, easiest thing to do is just say contact me in the chat box below, or I want a ticket, or whatever it is. Just indicate to us in some way that you want someone to reach out to you. We have a bunch of people here that you'll see: Sarah, Corey, Tobias, Jasmine. These are all people that work with us and are part of the team here, and they can support you in any questions that you might have and understanding what the program entails. But in short, Saturday and Sunday for about 5 hours per day is our intuitive mind 2 day intensive experience. And again, it outlines everything I just spoke about here.
Um, I'm always left with, when we talk to and train people and coach people, how much of life is robbed from us by these little parts. And if you think that self-sabotage, kind of in the way that we're mapping it here, it's like self-sabotage isn't really self-sabotage. It's more of a self-preservation than a self-sabotage. And so if you find yourself, how many of you have found that in the last year or more, you've been dealing with a similar aspect of your life over and over and over, and it hasn't really moved, right? Like maybe it's your conversation around money, maybe it's a certain hang up in a relationship, maybe it's something around your health or your career. How many of you are dealing with something that you've been at work dealing with for at least a year? And maybe you'll have moments where it gets a little bit better and then it just kind of like falls back to that same level or right around that same level. If that's the case, I was on a call before I got on here and we were just talking that like the parts that get activated that are afraid trigger a protector, or we could call it a protector or a manager. And this protector or manager is going to run out and do these things to preserve that which you have. Okay. So Guy said this great line. It's like most doctors, just like most personal development things that you read or hear, are dealing with what? They're dealing with the symptom. It's like a doctor, right? So just my current example, I slept funny, did something, I don't know what it was, and I have like sometimes you like pull a muscle or like you get a knot kind of over here. So I have that. So I ended up it started last week. I thought it was getting better. I ended up going to chiropractor. And chiropractor, very similar to what we do here. It's like my mind, right, wants to make this thing go away. It wants to make that part that's like really tight and knotty go away. But to the chiropractor, at least good ones, that thing that's tight over there has nothing to do with anything. I'm in my house, I'm like using a lacrosse ball and a foam roller and a gun and all this heat and all whatever, right? To try to get rid of that thing. The chiropractor looks way past that. He sees that my neck is out of alignment and a couple of vertebrae here kind of in between my shoulders are also out of alignment. So his focus is not about treating the root cause or like the thing that's in pain. He's not treating that symptom. He's looking for what is the actual root cause, the imbalance in the system that's created that for me. This work is very similar to that. And what I would venture to say is that most of the practices that people take on in personal development are all framed around healing the actual thing that is causing you the most pain now. Meaning, it's like, oh, this relationship isn't working, so I need to fix this relationship. Or my career sucks, so I'm going to switch my career and go to the next career. Or this relationship doesn't work, so I'm going to leave this relationship and go to the next relationship. And you could just see it's the mind's way of saying, this is not good. Let's go and we'll do something else over there and this will be okay. If we just remove this one symptom, we're gone. Here, the invitation is stop doing that. And that's why I asked in the beginning, if what you're dealing with has been around for a year, my guess is that you haven't actually gone down to the root cause. You're just dealing with the symptom that's in front of your face, right? A headache isn't created because your head hurts. So you can take medicine to make the headache go away, but is it actually treating anything that has to do with the root cause of why the headache is there in the first place? Because at some point, the medicine that you take, if you have ongoing headaches, like the medicine that you take stops being effective, right? And then you got to take stronger medicine. And then that medicine stops being effective. And it's on and so forth. If you've played that game long enough, you get to a place where dealing with the symptom is no longer good enough. You just don't want to do it anymore. Because you realize, like maybe I did when I was 35 years old and looking at my life after having done almost whatever at that point, it was 14, 15 years of work, right? Looking at my life and going, if I have to keep dealing with these same things over and over again for the next 70 years of my life, like that doesn't feel good. Do you want to deal with your money conversation for the next 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years of your life? Do you want to deal with your struggles around health for the next 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years of your life? How much of your life has this pattern robbed from you? And there's only, as far as we know right now, ask me in 20 years, maybe I'll give you a different answer. But as far as I know right now, the only way out of this is to actually start to work on the parts internally that create the symptom in the first place, that create the self-sabotage, the parts that don't feel good enough, the parts that feel that they're going to let others down, the parts that feel that if they be seen, they're going to be hurt. Those are the parts. Now, the flip side, which we haven't spoken about, is when those parts are healed, the level of manifestation and the effortless in which your life unfolds in front of you, the way that happens is downright, it seems like magic. And it doesn't happen in this very linear fashion. It just goes from A to Z, black to white, this to that. And if personal development work has been kind of this like, it felt effortful and like you're working all the time, it doesn't have to be. I mean, look, I did it for 15 plus years, so I get it. Like, we all put in our dues and our time, right? But it doesn't have to be. If you found your way to this group, my guess is that it was not by accident. My guess is that it's more like this group found you than you found the group.
Mhm.
And if you're having this conversation with us right now, my guess is because a part of you, somewhere deep inside, is ready to be done with the self-sabotage parts and the hurt parts and the parts that feel not good enough. Yeah, Brian says, my soul wanted this now, and I understand why. It's going to take some of you to have that moment where you're like, how the heck did I end up here? But like, wow, thank you. Yeah, I just want to read what Shantae wrote. As a young child, I was
Yes,
so in
sir.
tune with myself that I learned how to heal from the root issues. But as I got older, I began to focus more on the outward parts due to being deeply misunderstood and not uprooting that particular issue.
Whew, I got chills.
Exactly right. And I will
Hmm.
offer one other piece to that, Shantae, that for you to just kind of explore. As we get older, the parts, these young parts that have been hurt and hurt for so long, they have a lot of proof that this is the way life is, or this pain is really that devastating, or whatever it might be. And Guy said something earlier, which again we have found to be very, very true, both for ourselves and our clients, and that is it is damn near impossible to go do this work on your own because the parts, when they are witnessed, it's not a joyride, right? It's like there's aspects of yourself that you've just hidden from yourself for a long time because they are littered with disappointment or grief or sadness or terror or upset. When you come into this community, and I just want you to know, it doesn't matter what program you join of the awareness effect, like it doesn't matter what level you join, every single one of our programs, someone will be there holding your hand as you go back in there. So, what has seemed impossible because you have been trying to do it on your own for a long time, and doing it on your own is impossible because your mind will take you into there and show you that door, but it's so terrifying to like actually open it and go in there by yourself. Imagine if you had people standing, holding your hand by your side, by your back, in front of you, walking through this door with you. Would you be able to then explore what is there in a way that you've never been able to explore it before? That's the difference. Something that our students hear all the time is like, you don't have to do this on your own anymore. It's a huge thing to get. So yeah, so Brian said, I would love to connect with you all. That's why I'm here. So again, for all of you guys who this is resonating with, right? And it kind of feels like this group found you more than you found it, right? The greatest invitation I can make for you right now, the simplest way to plug into this amazing community of old souls, people who are on the same exact journey that you are at, maybe just at different places along that journey, but all here to help source your healing. The easiest way to get started is you attend one of these 2-day live events. So if you're ready to do that, just type contact me, and someone from our team, Sarah, Tobias, Corey, Jasmine, someone will be reaching out to you. They'll reply to you here, and then they'll probably send you a quick Facebook Messenger and be able to answer any of your questions, get you all the links that you need, etc., so that you can get started. And they make sure that, like I said, there's pre-course material. So again, like get in there today. That'll leave you with Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 3 days to get through some preliminary content so that you can be best prepared for the weekend. Our work, what you guys experience here, by the way, is very unlike a lot of the work that we do for this very reason. Our work is experiential, and you'll
Hmm.
learn that as soon as you get even into the pre-course stuff. We don't sit there and talk to you guys for 5 hours. We try to talk as little as humanly possible. Obviously, we have to give you some context and things like that, but really, like, we want to put you in experiences that allow you to feel these parts, that allow you to feel what healing is in your own body that connect you with other people and give you practices that you can do ongoingly after you leave the event. This is not about a content event where it's like, oh, let me see what more I can learn. It's not. It's about you having an experience. So this is an opportunity. We only do these probably every like 2 or so months. So otherwise, you're just going to be in limbo from now till then. So drop on in, come on to the event. Again, if for whatever reason it's not everything that you expected it to be, and then some, we have a full money back guarantee on any of our live programs. So you really have nothing at risk. And yeah, it's an event that you'll see people who have worked with us one on one still come back to time and time and time again, because each program is so uniquely different, because there's an energetic healing that happens at these programs way beyond the content, way beyond the spoken word. So if any of this resonated with you at all, like, talk to our team, make sure you get your butt in there, and that'll be the first step. Intention may have been what got you here, but intention is not going to be the thing that moves the needle.
Hmm.
Right? Like, you have to take that first step.
Mhm.
Intention can lead you somewhere, but you got to be the one willing to walk through that door. And until you do, doesn't matter how much the universe will show you and how much intention will, bring you to this, like, it's up to you to take that first step. And once you take that first step, the rest kind of follows suit, but that's what it always takes. So
Yeah.
we
And
hope
if
to see you guys.
sorry, real
Yeah,
quick.
go ahead.
And then if you guys know that, like this today was enough for you to be like, yeah, I absolutely want to join that program, then you don't feel like you need to ask questions or call. Just tell the team, just be like, send me the ticket info, and they will get over the link to you. I think we don't do this every time, but I'll close out with showing you guys videos of people who've gone through this experience, sharing about their experience. And it's just important, right? Like Elon and I can tell you till we're blue in the face, but the reality is this is such a novel, eye-opening, perception-changing. I could use a lot of adjectives here. Healing, inspiring event that it is actually difficult to articulate what happens here because we actually don't have language for it. It just is. There's an isness to it, which again needs to be directly experienced to even have a sense of what we're talking about. For those of you guys who've done, psychedelic journeys in a more healing sense, you may have some sense of what we're talking about here. However, you've never gone into certain states by your own volition without putting something into your system. And this is why these streams are so beautiful and so clean, because once you access it, what's possible for you is really sky's the limit. Like even Elon and I don't know what's possible for you. Like, until you start accessing these states, and then like you quickly find out that the most glorious experience of your entire life is sitting with this awareness. We're all kind of living these lives with our heads pointing at a screen, trying to get information. And we always say there is no boredom with awareness. Like, so, imagine you've discovered you're the video game, you're the game, you're the movie that you've been wanting to play. Really, it all lives inside of you. And, this is not a far stretch from, again, ancient texts that have said the kingdom of heaven is within you, and still most of humanity seeks it outside of themselves. So, to connect to that greater mind, to connect to intelligence itself, like all these things are absolutely possible and a lot closer and a lot quicker than you possibly ever imagined. So it's like, bring your training, bring anything you have, your beliefs, your spiritual ones, your religious ones. It all works with it. This is not to contrast anything that you've done. This is a very supportive practice to anything that you want to do in your life, and will only create a greater enhancement, whatever it is that you find important in your life that you want to pursue. Okay, so we'll play you out with that. Again, contact me or book a call with our team. They're free. This doesn't mean you have to buy anything. It just means you're inquiring. If you want a ticket, just let our team know, hey, I want a ticket. They will send it to you. So just communicate clearly for them. Like I said, let me play you out with these testimonials. Enjoy. If we can support you in any way, please don't hesitate to ask. We love you lots, and we'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.
You put words to something that is inexplicable. How do you try to convey, other than I hope the energy and the love you can feel coming through this, like how amazing and cracked open I feel? How after a life's journey of traumas and bliss and books and self-development and walking the Camino de Santiago, which was 800 kilometers in 33 days of meditation and being connected to earth and interacting with other pilgrims for all over the world. What an amazing experience that was. That changed me, but I can't tell you how much more 2 days with all these beautiful souls online in this event, how much more that even cracked me open, how that did crack me open, finally cracked me open. The deep-seated feelings of well-being, of connection, those aha moments, going into this with no expectations, with my heart open, it's life-altering. I sort of equate it to being when you first fall in love with someone and how blissful that is and everything's great and wonderful, and then, it's the honeymoon period. But this is not that. This is the honeymoon period with yourself, which is never going to end. I cannot stress enough how much this is actually easy, as they had said. Come if you're called, come if you're engaged. My experience, I can tell you, is not atypical. It's extremely typical for those that open up and feel this connection together. Can you do things on your own? Absolutely. Can you do things one-on-one with coaches? Fabulously. I get chills saying this, can you grow in leaps and bounds when you connect with a large group of like-minded souls? The energy between us all, the love, that deep-seated feeling of wellness and connection. You're not alone. You're here for a reason. Nothing's a coincidence. It just all clicks and becomes this most beautiful experience. I hope for any of you that are remotely called to do this, that you will seek these people out, this organization out, this love out, because it's there for you. It's that easy.
I went to their 2-day event this last weekend, and it's just been such a phenomenal growth in my path. I felt like it's exactly what I've been asking for. I had this amazing ability to really, truly come inside myself, listen. So easy. I've been, quote, trying for years, but I think that was part of the problem. I was trying too hard. And when they mentioned just without effort, it almost gave me the permission to just literally feel and drop in and allow whatever was coming up. And in their meditations and in their deep energetic work, I felt so much that it was shocking to me. And I've been able to continue throughout the last few days since the event. And I'm just so grateful. I'm currently in some challenging times, and I feel like that was the missing piece. I've been trying to do it from my mind and not knowing how to really deeply go into my body and feel and heal. And that process was unleashed during this event, and I'm continuing it. And I'm so amazed at how easy and how effortless it really is. Been on a path of embodiment for many years. Lots of self-awareness and personal growth, but it's like that wasn't enough. I felt stuck, and I knew and I felt that there was a lot of stuck energy and, past pain and in my body, and I didn't know how to touch it, even with all the different modalities I've done. This is a missing piece that I've been asking the universe to show me, and when the student is ready, the teachers appear, and that's what has happened, and I'm excited to work with Guy and Elan some more. And I'd encourage anybody who's thinking about this in this work, the event, in the future, to consider it, because it's really powerful, deep, transformational work. Thank you.
I just experienced the second 2-day intensive with Guy and Elan and Satori Prime, and it's overwhelming. The number one thing is the support. 2, and I said this on day 1 of the 2-day, the abundance of honesty that comes out of this work is in and of itself medicine. Honest with yourself, honest with listening to other people and their stories, not taking it in to a point where it affects you, but taking it in to a point where it allows you to feel and to move through it with them and within yourself. And that's what this program does. At least it has for me. And to feel all of the feels and to not be afraid of them and to have the support when you want to turn around and walk away, they say no. You don't have to. They don't tell you you can't, but they tell you you don't have to. And in doing so, it opens up so much more. The field of energy that was coming through on day 2 was so overwhelming that when my other half walked in to give me some news regarding one of my stressors, I didn't see him. I saw the energy and I saw the emotion and I felt it and I knew it, and I was so protected and so safe that moment alone was worth all the weight in gold. This is a powerful thing. I can see it changing my life in good ways, in ways that I still question, and in ways that I want to still question. Thank you to the entire Satori Prime family. Thank you. I'm better today than I was yesterday. I was better yesterday than I was 2 months ago when I signed up for round 1. And I can't wait to see where this journey takes me and us together, because I know that we're going to be better a month from now, a year from now, because we're doing the work. So, thank you. Mwah.
So I've been trying to find what happened to me that day, and the new traumatic experiences just kept happening to me. And it felt like each one, the next would be more extreme than the last. It didn't matter how many books I read, how much I prayed, how much I meditated. I went to counseling. I still am in counseling. I've been going to counseling my whole life. I had a life coach. I'm actually training to become a life coach as well. Working out, vision boards, affirmations, you name it, I did it. I wanted to know all about it, but it didn't help me stop my cycles. In that second meditation, I've come to aware that I took all of those moments for granted. And that was sad, and it was probably a really big disappointment to look at myself like that I have all of these beautiful days that I'm wasting, and I could be present for them all. Not only for myself, but for a lot of people out there. Sorry. No, I'm not, actually. I'm supposed to feel that. I'm gonna allow that in. Every experience can be different. It truly was a pivotal moment for me of where there was before this experience and after it. And I know that it's only catapulted me to only further my growth. And that to me is something that I can't thank enough, and I can't be more grateful for. So if you guys are wanting to do this experience, I encourage it. I encourage you to do as many experiences as you can, because it's life-changing and it's amazing. And I can't thank enough everyone even for the mini groups and everything after it that they provide, is support with like-minded individuals that I honestly, I'm so filled with happiness and so much gratefulness in my heart that there's no dictionary to describe this kind of stuff, but I hope that I was able to, put it into a little part of a testimony for you guys and explaining it as the best I could. I love you all.
It's been a wonderful 2 days, emotional, and I just had to take a couple days to process it all because it just seemed, but it was very, very intense, and it was a wonderful journey to be on, that's for sure. There's 2 reasons for me that hurdles that I kind of had to take. Excuses, right? We make up excuses for ourselves, and whatever they are. I don't have the money, I don't have the time, it's not the right time for me, or I can do it on my own, whatever. You have those excuses and you go back and forth in your own head. And the other thing was that I thought I could do it alone, that what I really needed was I needed help. And I actually came face to face with that. And so those 2 kind of things came to a head, plus talking to Nikki and Corey, I decided, what can I lose, really, right? So you go back and forth in your own mind, and at least I do talk to myself too much. So I took the leap of faith, and I went and I took the 2-day course, and I am so proud and happy for myself that I did. It took me, like I said, a couple days to process it all because it was so intense, and just the collective. It's such a safe, loving, protected place to be. You don't have to be afraid. And if we're on the fence, going back and forth like I was, I recommend that you just do it. It's a gift for yourself. The support, the love, that's exactly what I needed. I needed to have someone to tell me that, I'm worth it, and that I'm not alone, that there's other people out there on the same journey, have the same feelings as well. Thank you so much for just being there. It's amazing. Love you.
Trying to put into words the experience that I had, which is actually quite difficult. I went on a journey for the best part of it. Guy and Alan are very, very good at guiding people, and obviously within this event there was around 50 odd people all sharing this experience with me, which created a very powerful energy field. And as they were guiding us, and to get people to understand and help you understand certain aspects of yourself, we are multidimensional beings. We live in multiple realities at the same time, and I think what happens is we get pulled into this reality, as beautiful as it is, through our senses, and that isn't every reality. There is lots of other areas for us to explore, and Guy and Alan are very good at guiding you to open up these different pathways, these different realities. So for me personally, deeply connected to the earth. I felt almost just part of the energy field of the earth at times. I was connected to what I can only describe as beings of light, which were coming to visit me, even maybe ancestral parts of my ancestry, and that was a very powerful experience. And even beyond that, I was viewing the earth from the moon. There was a lot of visuals for me, and I found it very, very powerful to hear everyone else's story as well, and everyone else's experience, should I say. There was a lot of people, they were opening up parts of themselves that maybe hadn't been open for a very long time, and there was a lot of healing going on, and I found that absolutely amazing. I think for me personally, what I can bring from and what I've experienced, and what Guy and Alan really help with, is we have a very busy reality. You know, we live very, very fast lives. We've been conditioned, or we've conditioned ourselves to live like this. Everything moves at quite a fast pace, including our thoughts now. I don't think it's always been like this. In fact, I know it hasn't always been like this. And so what this really helps you do is just take in the stillness of everything. And it allows you to really sink in and just allow that stillness to be. And that is by far the most powerful thing I took from this experience, and I think many others would do as well. And if you haven't been on it, I would definitely recommend going on it, 100%. Like I say, it's hard to put into words, the experience.
So I didn't know what to expect from the 2-day Intuitive Mind event, and honestly, I was a little bit anxious about spending that much uninterrupted time just focused on me. But I'm so glad that I followed my intuition and participated, because it far exceeded any expectations that I could have conceived before. Not only was the event itself powerful and transformative, but now it's 4 days later and I have received daily more downloads, information, just insights that have been really special. There's been a new level of calm and peace and just trust in my body system since the event, and that alone is priceless. I can't wait for more events. I think Guy and Elon are so knowledgeable and supportive, and I can't wait to continue this beautiful journey with you. Thank you so much for the work that you do. I love you, and you're really making the world a better place. So thank you.
I pondered over doing this, trying to work out how do I explain what just happened. The first thing, I guess, for me, a lot of the energy workshops I've done is generally with women. It's generally, it's not unheard of that I go to events and there's me and 19 other women at these events, held space by women. I just seem to be more attracted to, I guess, the feminine, if you need a word. Or there's just not a lot of men going to these type of workshops. I never knew, I just go along. These two have cultivated within themselves the ability to hold gentle, loving space. And from a big-hearted man like me, that to me is priceless in itself. There's a little bit of a finding home. And for a weekend where I did fuck all, there was just space. Just space. To feel the transformation on the spot of people in the group from an energetic perspective, not from the words that they spoke perspective, I loved. What brought me to the event was just I'd only followed these guys, I stumbled across them, I've only followed them for a couple of months. And just went, well, that feels all right, I'm not going to do that. Did I have some resistance after that decision? Of course, I did, What am I doing? A couple of fucking randoms on the internet, shit. I have a little gullible piece, so I'm very wary of being taken advantage of. Yeah, so for you, it's a feeling. It's a feeling. It's not an intellectual decision. If you're making an intellectual decision, it might not be right for you. There is changes that are possible. You just need to put your hand up.
I've been on my self-development journey for 5 years now, and I have always had problems to sustain the energy in my body due to physical pains that I have. And these pains, they like feed the blockages that I have in my body. So falling into mind and stress and self-sabotage over and over again, for me it's just inevitable, because I never really could hold that foundation inside, that was missing for me. And when I heard that Guy and Elon had a live event coming up, and somebody invited me if I wouldn't like to join, because that was exactly what I was looking for, to get unstuck in my energy and unstuck in self-sabotaging myself. So my mind went a bit haywire because I had a work weekend that weekend, and I didn't really have the financial means to join. So I thought it over and I went to my boss and I was able to switch my work weekend around, and I lent the money from my husband, and I could attend. So because I knew not going was, just something when it feels right, you've just got to get that. And that's what that event was for me. And during this event, what happened for me was I've never felt something like that before. Nearly at the end of the event, when we were invited to join an exercise, it just released a wave of ugliness and shame inside myself that flooded out me. I could see and feel all that blame. Everything just flooded out. And what I realized was that I just forgave myself, and I didn't know that was a work that I still needed to do. And when that happened, it was as if my solar plexus just opened up when all that wave of ugliness and shame went outside my body. I can't explain it any otherwise. And I couldn't grasp these feelings that happened over the 2 days, but it was as if my body and soul were getting ready to release all that. So I didn't understand it, but my body already and my soul knew what was happening to me. And it was just amazing that everything inside myself knew that I couldn't carry those and handle those feelings anymore. So at the end of that exercise, everything that blocked me was just gone. And it was always as if my solar plexus was pushing me down. And now it is as if I have a strong person inside myself, like this strong energy that opens up. I don't know how to explain that. And it's just a feeling like, oh God. Even just expressing my feelings on camera like this, or being vulnerable, it's just nothing that I've ever done. So this is really new to me, and I'm nervous, but it's also exciting to just be able to do this and not hide underneath my stomach anymore and just being pushed away. So it's fantastic. And these are really exercise and tools that guy used that everybody can learn. I think it's always being so overcomplicated to get in touch with your feeling inside that a lot of people are afraid to do that. And I just went in open-minded, and I just believe everything is possible now. It's just, it's fantastic. It's really fantastic. I've never felt more like myself than I do today. So really, I appreciate you, Guy and Ilan. Thank you so much for the work that you two are doing with this beautiful community, and I just can't wait for the next live event to happen. So until we see each other again, all the best to you, and thank you very, very much for just setting me free and just making me smile the whole day. It's fantastic. Thank you.
I walked in with an open mind, and what I walked out with was a lot more than that. I walked out with an open heart, an open mind, and a whole new experience. And it was so worth it. A life-changing experience, I could call it that. I've never felt that way before. I have read many books. I have taken some courses. I have been working on my personal development. And I found the weekend has changed me forever. I felt at peace. I felt secure. I felt safe. I felt loved. And I felt completely tranquil and still. And it was an amazing, amazing, amazing experience, providing a very safe, comfortable, loving, supportive environment. They constantly reassured us. They were there to support us, and we could feel that. And I thank them so much for that. I felt like I was flying high that day, the point that I had reached through those 2 days in my experience, in my meditations. I have never reached that level before. Also, the people that attended in the group, everyone was amazing. Such great experiences, gave you so much perspective, insights on what everyone is experiencing and how we can, help support each other, learn from each other, and also build friendships in the Facebook group that we have. That is a wonderful thing. I'm checking it every day, and it's just amazing. the amount of beautiful souls out there, and I highly recommend this. And I hope you too come and join our live experience once again and see what it's all about. And you too will see that it is life-changing. And I thank you all, and I hope to see you there.